Nadika hesitates for a second, then presses down on the accelerator as the traffic light changes from green to yellow. The crossing is empty. Normally she would be annoyed by people who press the button and walk away, but she is too stressed to think about anything except getting home. A car drives through the lights just as they turn red. By then, it is too late for Nadika to stop, so she continues through the crossing. A siren sounds immediately, and blue lights flash in her mirror. She is horrified by the delay. She must get home. She has been worried since realizing there was something wrong with her conversation with Jamie earlier that morning. The police car forces her to pull over. A tall, broad policeman comes to her window. She is scared to trust him, so she asks for ID. He shows it to her. PC Dan Harrington asks if she knows why he stopped her. She shakes her head. He says she was speeding and went through a red light. She apologizes and admits she is in a rush. He asks where she is going. She starts to cry. The female officer asks if there is a problem at home. Nadika says no, but she is worried her partner is cheating. She tells them about her ex-husband, Scott, who cheated on her throughout their marriage. The policewoman is sympathetic. Although she first suggests Nadika's past may be affecting her judgment, she finally tells her colleague to forget the ticket and lets her leave. Nadika drives home, hoping she is wrong. When she arrives, she sees a police car outside. She runs inside, ignoring the officer who tries to stop her. She finds a detective in the hall and sees Jamie's body on the carpet. The sight leaves her frozen in shock as she realizes Jamie is already beyond saving. D.I. Burton tells Nadika he is sorry. He leads her outside to a bench. She is in shock and can barely breathe. She tells him she heard a woman's voice on the phone. Burton says the voice most likely belonged to the killer. He asks if she heard anything else, but she is not sure. She learns an anonymous caller contacted the police. Forensic teams begin taking items from the house, including Jamie's laptop and phone. Nadika worries about what they might find, but Burton says it is necessary for the investigation. He tells her there was no sign of forced entry, so Jamie most likely opened the door willingly to someone he knew or expected. She realizes the killer might be someone she knows. Burton interviews Nadika in his car. He confirms Jamie was stabbed. Nadika explains she met Jamie Golding on a dating app, and that he moved from Sheffield to live with her and her children. They were very happy, but Jamie struggled to settle in a new town. He had left behind close friends, familiar routines, and the life he had built in Sheffield. After losing his previous job, a new one became available nearby. When he got it, they both felt the opportunity had come at exactly the right time. He had also been slowly building a close relationship with Maya and Nish, who were beginning to accept him as part of the family. Burton asks about her ex-husband, Scott. Nadika says they do not spend time together. She remembers how Scott hated Jamie and had threatened him before. She realizes Scott truly hated him. Burton becomes her family liaison officer and gives her his number. He promises to guide her through both the investigation and everything that needs to be done after Jamie's death. She watches as Jamie's body is taken to the mortuary. She feels sick at the thought of seeing him again. She calls her ex-mother-in-law, Kath, who agrees to take her and the girls for the night. She calls Scott, but learns he left his phone behind. She decides to drive to Kath's house herself, feeling that her life has changed forever. Nadika stays at Kath's house. She feels safe in the familiar, warm home. Burton messages to thank her for the contact details for Jamie's parents. She tries to think about funeral arrangements, but it feels impossible. Maya and Nish still think Jamie had an accident. Nadika cannot bring herself to tell them the truth, knowing they had slowly begun accepting Jamie as part of their family. Scott arrives later, and Kath tells him the news. He acts sympathetic, but Nadika is suspicious. She wonders why he did not have his phone while running. She also notices his running clothes look unusually clean, making her doubts grow. His explanations are strange, and she starts to believe he is lying. Nadika wakes up at Kath's and makes a list of practical tasks, from registering Jamie's death to notifying banks and other services. She calls Jamie's phone to hear his voice on the voicemail, but she cannot bring herself to cancel the service. She listens to his voicemail more than once, unable to accept that she will never hear his voice again. She takes the girls to school, where other parents already know the news. She returns home after the police finish their work. The house has been cleaned, and it looks empty. Burton says the investigation is active. He tells her the anonymous emergency call came from a phone box, and officers are reviewing nearby security camera footage for clues. Nadika admits she had suspected Jamie of cheating. Burton mentions a neighbor saw an unknown woman visiting the house. The woman reportedly visited several times while Nadika was at work, making Nadika fear her suspicions about Jamie may have been justified. Later, Kath visits with food and encourages her to stay away for a while, but although Nadika is frightened of returning after the murder, she believes delaying it will only make going back even harder. Upstairs, she finds Jamie's belongings and tries to hold on to his memory. After the police finish examining Jamie's workplace, Nadika goes to his office to collect his belongings and hopes she might learn something about the life he kept separate from home. Adam, his boss, is surprised to hear about the murder. He is shocked because no one at work had any idea Jamie was dead until Nadika arrived. He helps her collect his belongings. While there, she finds his work diary. It contains many entries marked with the initials ND, and the dates match evenings when Jamie had claimed he was working late, making the pattern impossible for her to ignore. She begins to believe Jamie had been keeping secrets from her. She leaves the office, wondering who ND is and if she ever really knew Jamie at all. DI Colin Burton sits in a cafe near the police station and examines Jamie's diary. Nadika explains she thinks ND is someone Jamie was meeting, possibly a colleague. Burton bags the diary as evidence and gives Nadika a receipt. They discuss her feeling like her life was shaken up like a snow globe. She admits she wants justice but also wants to know why she was not enough for him. Burton asks to borrow her phone so investigators can download the WhatsApp messages as evidence, and she reluctantly agrees despite needing the phone for everyday life. She asks whether police have identified the anonymous caller. She tells him about the arson at a nearby shop and an anonymous call that preceded it. Burton notes the detail but thinks the murder is a personal matter. He admits the investigation has no viable leads despite fingerprints, CCTV reviews, and public appeals. Nadika is devastated that the investigation she had trusted is making no meaningful progress. Nadika brings her daughters home and tells them Jamie has died. The girls are heartbroken, especially Maya, who does not want to believe it. They all cry together and sleep in Nadika's bed that night. The next day, Nadika decides the girls should go to school. She feels emotional when Nish takes the cardboard castle they built with Jamie to class. She drives to ADP Construction to find out more. She obtains a staff list and identifies Nicole Davis as the employee with the initials ND. She confronts Nicole, who denies knowing anything. The argument escalates until Adam Bennington and Carrie intervene, forcing Nadika to leave the building. Nadika waits on hold for the police, but becomes frustrated with the service. She decides to go to the station in person. She asks for D.I. Burton, but no one knows him. Detective Chief Inspector Lauren Caldwell meets her and checks the system. She finds no record of Jamie Golding's murder and no incident at Cedar Walk. She confirms no officer named Colin Burton works for the force. Lauren tells a horrified Nadika that there is no official record that the murder ever happened. Lauren meets with her major crime team to assess Nadika's report. Concluding that Nadika genuinely believes Jamie was murdered, Lauren assigns detectives to verify Jamie's existence, investigate Nadika's background, review police records for recording errors, and identify the traffic officers who stopped Nadika and examine their body camera footage. As the briefing concludes, the team considers three possibilities: that Nadika Prasanna is a fantasist and the murder never happened, that Jamie is dead or missing and Nadika Prasanna is responsible, or that everything happened exactly as she described. Lauren realizes they may be looking for both a murderer and a group of criminals posing as police officers. Lauren returns home with her fiancé and colleague, Detective Sergeant Fraser Hogan. She reflects on the bizarre situation and the challenge of treating this as a fresh murder investigation. The next morning, she briefs her team. ADP Construction confirms Jamie himself phoned in sick on Monday morning, meaning no one at work expected him that day. Lauren treats the murder and the fake police operation as separate investigations that may be connected, realizing the operation had been carefully planned and likely required multiple people who understood police procedures. The team learns the story has gone viral online, creating immense public pressure. Hashtags accusing the police of corruption spread rapidly online, turning the case into a national controversy. CSI explains forensic priorities. Detectives begin searching for Jamie's body to confirm the murder and recover forensic evidence, reviewing funeral homes, doorbell camera footage, cloud backups, smart devices, reconstructing Jamie's recent digital activity, tracing his missing phone, laptop, and iPad, and the vehicles used by the fake police team for evidence. The investigation also focuses on identifying everyone involved in the coordinated fake police operation. Lauren interviews Nadika at Kath's house. Nadika insists Nicole Davis must be questioned. Lauren asks about Jamie and their relationship, noting Nadika's growing belief that Jamie was hiding something. After being interrupted by the girls, Lauren offers to collect their costumes from the house. She visits Cedar Walk and speaks to neighbor Stanley Hall. He describes the fake detective and mentions a past fight between Jamie and Scott. Stanley also confirms he saw the fake detective outside the house on the day of the murder and was turned away when he tried to help. Later, forensic experts conclude the evidence strongly indicates a murder took place despite the absence of a body. Lauren searches the house and finds a crumpled note in which Jamie apologizes, insists none of it is Nadika's fault, and says he thinks it is best to move out, making Lauren wonder if Nadika had a motive. For the first time, Lauren seriously considers that Nadika herself could have been involved. Lauren interviews Nicole Davis at the office, with Carrie from HR present. Nicole denies any affair with Jamie, says they barely knew each other, and confirms she was not with him on the days in question. Lauren and Fraser conclude Nicole is unlikely to be involved, as her interview, work records, and account are consistent and do not support Nadika's affair theory. They access Jamie's digital files and find a folder modified the day after the murder. Carrie explains only Adam Bennington had permission to access Jamie's folders. The deleted files and Adam's exclusive access make Lauren consider whether he may be involved, prompting digital forensics to examine his computer under a warrant. Investigators review the body camera footage from Nadika's traffic stop, confirming the officer acted unprofessionally, and that Nadika gave the same account she later told Lauren. Finally, Matt Draper reports that a neighbor's car camera captured the plate of the fake detective's rental car. The registration belongs to a rental vehicle, giving investigators their first concrete lead and a vehicle they can examine for forensic evidence. Lauren and Fraser interview Adam Bennington in a small room. Lauren shows Adam the files he deleted from Jamie Golding's computer. Adam claims it was an accident, but Lauren reveals Jamie's report about the dangerous ground at Redburn Point. Adam admits he wanted to avoid an expensive survey. Lauren asks about his movements on Monday, and he denies killing Jamie. After the interview, Lauren feels drained. She asks Fraser to check on their wedding venue while she goes for a run to clear her mind. She wonders if Adam or organized criminals are responsible for the professional cleanup. The next morning, she briefs her team. They learn the rental car used in the crime was hired with cloned cards. Digital forensics experts recover data from the vehicle, including a burner phone number. Lauren orders a search for missing police uniforms and follows up on the burner phone and other emerging leads. She receives multiple calls from her mother about the wedding, adding to her stress. After confronting her mother, she learns from Matt that the criminals paid a company called Safeguard Solutions to clean the murder scene. Lauren interviews Gary Fisher from Safeguard Solutions. He explains he thought he was hired by a police sergeant to deep clean the house after a bloodstain was removed. Gary shows Lauren his photos of the crime scene, which are valuable evidence. Lauren learns that the cleaning materials from the job are still in Gary's basement. She immediately seizes them for forensic testing. Back at the station, she reviews a recovered doorbell image of a man in a fake police uniform. Nadika confirms this is one of the men she saw. Nadika expresses fear that someone is watching her, so Lauren arranges for extra support. Bonas identifies that PC Tom Chandler is selling police equipment online. Lauren updates the team on the evidence board, and AJ reveals threatening messages sent to Jamie from Scott Hadley. AJ also recovers coded location messages that the team struggles to decipher until Bonas realizes they are backwards what 3 words locations. Lauren worries that the coded meetings were central to whatever Jamie was involved in. Lauren confronts Tom Chandler about selling police gear. Tom admits he did it because he was behind on his mortgage. Lauren warns him about the danger of fake uniforms and demands he turn in all remaining equipment. She decides not to report him immediately. Lauren and Fraser go to interview Scott Hadley at his home. Scott is defensive and promotes his wellness business. He admits he hated Jamie but denies killing him. When Lauren questions his alibi, Scott admits he lied about going for a run and says he was with a girlfriend. Lauren confirms this alibi with the woman. They visit the Lord Admiral pub, where the landlord mentions the building was closed for a private Masonic meeting on the day in question. Lauren contacts the team and realizes other venues were also booked for private functions. They suspect a large, organized network is responsible for the crime. Lauren receives a call from Tony Watkins, who reports that Jamie's fingerprints were found on a bottle of lighter fuel from a recent arson attack. Lauren and Fraser question Nadika about the lighter fuel. Nadika defends Jamie, but Lauren presses her on whether Jamie held racist views. Nadika recalls Jamie introducing her as Nadia and discouraging the recruitment of foreign staff. She also remembers Jamie's strange behavior regarding a school nativity play. Nadika feels sick realizing Jamie may have hidden a different side of himself. She admits she found a breakup letter from Jamie but never confronted him. Lauren concludes Jamie had been hiding significant secrets. They visit the village hall Jamie used for a meeting. The committee chair explains the booking was made by people claiming to be Masons and notes the bank card used for security. Lauren orders financial tracing. Fraser receives an urgent call and tells Lauren that Jamie Golding's body has been found. Lauren and Fraser travel to the woodland crime scene. Officers explain a dog walker discovered Jamie in a shallow grave. CSI teams begin the recovery while Lauren realizes the killers made a mistake by leaving the body behind. She hopes the body bag will provide forensic clues. They discuss the remaining suspects, including Adam and Scott. Fraser tries to comfort Lauren about their upcoming wedding, and they spend the evening working on wedding favors. Despite Fraser's encouragement to rest, Lauren continues working late into the night. Lauren arrives at work to find a surprise wedding celebration planned by her team. They play a quiz, but the party ends when Detective Inspector Jules Stratman arrives. Jules explains that the bank card used at the village hall is linked to an investigation into a far-right group called New Dawn. Lauren realizes the initials ND refer to the far-right group New Dawn rather than a secret affair, and that Jamie had been attending its meetings. She becomes deeply concerned that Nadika may still be a target. Lauren and Jules visit Nadika to explain Jamie's connection to New Dawn. Nadika refuses to believe it at first, but Lauren presents the evidence. Nadika feels betrayed and confused as the police destroy her memory of Jamie. They discuss Jamie's belongings and arrange for a panic alarm to be installed. Kath insists that Scott stay at the house for safety. After the police leave, Nadika feels the police must be wrong about Jamie and resolves to prove his innocence herself despite the growing evidence against him. Nadika visits Jamie's parents. They are grieving but kind, defending Jamie's character. They show her the furniture Jamie kept in storage, explaining he kept it to avoid upsetting her daughters. Penny gives Nadika one of Jamie's jumpers, which still carries his scent. Nadika visits the library and learns Jamie never took books home but read them there. The librarian prints Jamie's history, revealing books on white supremacy and extremist ideology. His internet search history is also filled with radical content, arson research, and questions about how to make people like him. Nadika remembers her workplace training on how extremists target isolated people, and she begins to fear that Jamie had been groomed and radicalized. Nadika finds Scott's presence in her home intrusive and frustrating. He constantly plays music and uses her breakfast bar as an office for his business. When she leaves for work, she notices a black BMW following her. She drives through several streets to confirm it is tracking her and calls Lauren. The car disappears when she reaches her exit. Nadika spends the day worrying about New Dawn and the possibility that she is being watched. At Echelon Warehousing, she discovers a local newspaper has twisted her job fair press release into an anti-immigration story, which has already caused trouble for her staff. She talks to Stefan, a new recruit who was featured in the article. He explains that far-right groups are growing locally, warns her that a woman shouldn't be the one asking questions, and makes it clear he does not want to attract their attention himself. Nadika realizes she needs someone who can blend into these groups, and she decides to ask Scott for help. Nadika asks Scott to investigate New Dawn. He is reluctant to get involved, but Nadika explains that she believes Jamie was brainwashed and that she needs to prove his innocence. She gives Scott Jamie's old watch, hoping it contains data that can help her search. Scott initially doubts the simple device can do anything useful, but after Nadika breaks down and pleads that she needs to clear Jamie's name because he loved her daughters Maya and Nish like they were his own, he agrees to try recovering any data from it. Lauren drives Nadika to the mortuary, with Fraser in the passenger seat. Nadika is anxious and grieving as they arrive. She enters the viewing room with Lauren's support, and Lauren encourages her to spend as much time with Jamie as she needs before leaving. Seeing Jamie's body finally destroys her last hope that he might still be alive, leaving her devastated. On the way home, Lauren asks about a £300 cash withdrawal. Nadika explains she thinks it was for household expenses. Lauren then asks about a package from China, explaining it could be important to the investigation. Nadika suddenly realizes that she might know where the packaging is. She returns home determined to search for it immediately. Nadika brings Nisha's castle home, but the girls are upset. Later that evening, Nadika tears apart the cardboard model. She finds a box from Dragon Eye Technology containing instructions for a hidden recording device. Scott arrives home, and they examine the instructions together. He suggests Jamie bought the covert recorder to bug the house for New Dawn, but Nadika refuses to believe it. Scott warns her that if Jamie was secretly recording New Dawn, the devices might still be hidden and New Dawn could be listening to them right now. Nadika and Scott search the house for the bug, but find nothing. Nadika worries about their privacy and the possibility that New Dawn is targeting her work. Scott checks the car while Nadika realizes Jamie's cash withdrawal happened after the arson attack. She messages Surinder, who confirms an anonymous envelope with £300 was left after the fire. Scott finds Jamie's balaclava inside his coat, and they discover a small recording disc hidden inside the seam. Nadika realizes Jamie was not one of them, but had hidden the recorder inside his balaclava to secretly gather evidence against New Dawn. She believes Jamie was trying to protect her, and Scott finally agrees. She also realizes Jamie may have visited the police station to seek help because he knew New Dawn was becoming dangerous. Nadika immediately calls Lauren to tell her the truth. Lauren realizes the recording could provide crucial evidence about New Dawn and what happened at its meetings. 2 months earlier, Jamie and Nadika return home after a night out. They share an affectionate evening together, and Jamie appreciates the rare time they have without the children. The next morning, Jamie dreads Scott's arrival to drop off the girls. Scott deliberately tries to undermine Jamie in front of Nadika, provoking him and mocking their relationship until Jamie defends his future with her. Jamie later receives another threatening text and argues with Nadika. He sits on the edge of their bed, privately wondering whether moving in with Nadika was a mistake if Scott would always remain part of their lives. Jamie delays going home to avoid Scott, so he stops at a pub. He meets Carrie and 2 men, Alan and Chris, who express extreme racist views. Jamie feels uncomfortable but pretends to agree to keep them talking, realizing that learning more about them may help expose the group. He texts Nadika to say he is with friends. After he leaves, he feels dirty for pretending to agree with their racist views simply to keep them talking. Back home, Nadika is thrilled that he is making friends. Jamie hides his true feelings to avoid worrying Nadika, realizing he must continue pretending to share their views if he wants to uncover what they are planning. Carrie Finder approaches Jamie at work with anti-immigration propaganda, later admitting she secretly filters out foreign job applicants. Jamie rejects her views but quietly takes the leaflet to a police station, where an officer tells him they already know about the planned protest. Later, Carrie invites Jamie for drinks again. Believing Jamie shares her views, Carrie gradually begins to trust him. As Jamie carefully questions her, she becomes increasingly open. Carrie shows him a list of companies they are targeting because they employ foreign workers, and Jamie is horrified to see Nadika's employer on the list. Jamie realizes Nadika's employer has been targeted by New Dawn and decides he must keep meeting Carrie, gain her trust, and uncover the group's plans to protect her and her company. Jamie returns home feeling stressed by his secret life. Nadika talks excitedly about her new recruitment campaign for Echelon. Jamie tries to learn if Echelon is a target of Carrie's hate list without giving himself away. He worries about the diverse workforce Nadika is proud of, fearing they are putting themselves in danger. He even cautiously suggests that the recruitment campaign could attract unwanted attention, but Nadika dismisses the idea, believing people like that have little influence. Jamie eventually accepts another invitation to drink with Carrie, Alan, and Chris. He feels sick pretending to agree with their racism, but forces himself to stay. They continue to test his loyalty with increasingly hateful remarks. Jamie realizes they know Carrie shared inside information with him and tries to prove he is one of them. He is forced to say that migrants should drown to prove his loyalty. Chris describes a disgusting assault on a homeless person, and Jamie hides his true feelings. To protect his secret, Jamie lies about Nadika's identity, calling her Nadia. Jamie visits the police station to report the assault he witnessed. He talks to a woman at the desk, but she informs him that without a victim or solid evidence, there is nothing they can do. Jamie feels frustrated and loses confidence that the police will act without stronger evidence. He decides he must gather stronger evidence against New Dawn himself. He believes exposing the group from the inside is the only way to stop them after the police fail to act on his report. He calls Carrie to apologize for missing the protest and tells her he wants to become a fully involved member of New Dawn. Carrie introduces Jamie to the New Dawn hierarchy. She explains that members earn trust by proving their loyalty and that only trusted members gain access to the group's master list of targets. She also explains who the boss is. Jamie learns how they use coded messages to arrange meetings. He carefully hides his family photos before Carrie can see them. He fears that if New Dawn discovers Nadika and the girls are his family, they could become targets themselves. He receives the next location and attends his first meeting. He sees masked members and hears leaders praising recent violent acts. Jamie also hears a warning that anyone who reveals the group's secrets will face serious consequences, making him fear they will eventually discover his deception. The leaders also reveal that a member who spoke too freely has already been dealt with. Jamie realizes the threat is real and fears the same fate if his true intentions are ever discovered. The boss orders Jamie's initiation, which requires him to burn down Surinder's shop. Jamie is terrified, knowing that refusing the task could mean his death. He also realizes New Dawn already knows where he lives, making it impossible to simply walk away without putting himself and his family at risk. Jamie spends a happy evening with Nadika and the girls, but the warm family atmosphere makes him feel like a fraud. Their laughter and ordinary family life only make his secret feel heavier, leaving him terrified that everything he loves could soon be destroyed. He worries about the arson task Carrie demands he complete. He believes completing the initiation is the only way to gain the group's trust, reach the master list, and uncover their future plans before more people are hurt. Jamie struggles to act normal around Nadika, lying repeatedly to protect her. When she falls asleep, he slips out into the night to carry out the attack. Jamie buys the supplies and heads toward the shop, but he cannot bring himself to start the fire. The heavy rain helps him make an excuse to Carrie. Jamie begins to feel trapped and considers leaving forever. He even writes a goodbye letter to Nadika, but tears it up after realizing New Dawn could still come after her if he disappeared. He notices Carrie watching the house during the night. He rushes outside before she can reach the front door. Jamie leads Carrie away from the house by pretending he forgot the fuel, then secretly calls Surinder to wake him before returning. They reach the shop and Jamie pours the fluid. He struggles with the matches, so Carrie lights the fire herself. Jamie runs to a nearby phone box to anonymously report the fire to emergency services. As the shop erupts in flames, Jamie realizes he has committed a serious crime, but he hopes it will get him close enough to destroy New Dawn. Jamie returns home, hiding his shame. He secretly hides his clothes after smelling the lighter fluid on them, afraid Nadika might discover where he has been. Nadika reads about the arson, unaware of his role. Jamie receives a text from Carrie praising his work. He visits the charred remains of the shop and anonymously leaves money for Surinder. It is all the cash he can withdraw, but he hopes it will at least help the family recover from the damage he helped cause. His guilt poisons his relationship with Nadika as he withdraws and lies to her. Carrie insists Jamie meet the boss personally. She tells him the next operation will be far bigger than anything New Dawn has done before, making Jamie even more desperate to learn their plans. At the next meeting, the group celebrates his attack. Jamie is forced to stand before the group and accept their praise, feeling even more ashamed because everyone now believes he shares their beliefs. Alan and Chris confront him about being seen with Nadika, but Jamie lies again, claiming she was connected to the shop. Jamie sews a hidden recording device into his balaclava, hoping to finally collect evidence the police can use against New Dawn. Nadika unknowingly interrupts him while he is sewing the hidden microphone into the balaclava, forcing him to quickly hide what he is doing. Their marriage continues to fall apart as Jamie lies to hide his dangerous mission. Nadika repeatedly asks whether something is wrong between them, but Jamie cannot tell her the truth without putting her in even greater danger. He attends the next meeting and sits right in front of the leaders to ensure a clear recording. He knows sitting so close increases the risk of being exposed, but believes the recording may finally give the police enough evidence to stop New Dawn. The boss introduces the next operation. He displays an image of a building targeted for a major attack. Jamie looks at the screen and feels his heart stop, realizing he knows the location. Jamie was busy washing up on Sunday night with his back to Nadika. Things were still tense, but he had hoped the cottage pie she left for him was a sign of peace. He asked if she would consider taking some time off work. She explained she was off for the holidays soon, but Jamie pushed for her to go even earlier. He suggested they take the girls away for a trip to Lapland. Nadika laughed at the idea, thinking he had gone mad. She listed all the reasons why it was impossible, including the job fair and school events. She promised him they could go next year instead. Jamie looked at his reflection in the window and knew next year would be too late. The next morning, he waited until Nadika left before sneaking back into the house. He registered as sick through his work portal and sat at the kitchen table with his laptop. He first copied the latest meeting recording from his phone onto the laptop before beginning his report. He needed to get everything down. He typed out a detailed report about New Dawn, recording everything he could remember, including the boss, the spokesman, and the others he had seen. He included the meeting places and the group's chilling battle cry. Just as he started to describe the upcoming operation, the doorbell rang. Thinking it was a delivery, he went to answer it, planning to finish his report right after. He opened the door to find Alan, Carrie, and Chris standing there. They pushed past him and walked into the house. Jamie followed them into the sitting room, his heart racing. He tried to act casual, joking about being sick, but his throat felt tight. Carrie explained that Alan and Chris had concerns about his loyalty to New Dawn. Jamie tried to steer the conversation toward getting coffee outside, hoping to get them away from his house. Alan suddenly became aggressive and shoved Jamie onto the sofa. He held up a framed photo of Nadika and the girls, demanding to know who they were. Jamie could not keep up the lies anymore. He defended them, calling Alan a racist. Alan grabbed him by the collar, furious. Chris then walked in holding Jamie's laptop, which he had found upstairs. They realized Jamie had documented everything about their plans. Carrie tried to call their boss, but Jamie tried to break free. Alan hit him, and Chris stepped forward with a knife. He stabbed Jamie in the stomach. Jamie fell to the floor, gasping for air. He heard Carrie talking on the phone, requesting a full cleanup because he was not going to make it. As he lay there, his vision began to fade into darkness. He struggled to stay conscious, desperate because he was the only one who knew where the attack would happen. He tried to think of Nadika, but his strength failed. Jamie died, believing he had failed to stop the attack and protect his family. After Jamie was killed, Nadika called Lauren to explain that Jamie had been trying to stop the extremists. Lauren was skeptical at first, but she listened as Nadika described the recording device and Jamie's visit to the police. Lauren realized the evidence suggested he was undercover. She and Fraser went to see Nadika. Lauren confirmed that Jamie had reported an assault anonymously as Richard Smith. She explained that the report did not lead to action because they did not know it was him. Lauren also found out Jamie had downloaded the ShadowTech app to record meetings. She asked for his watch to help with their data. She noticed Scott Hadley was staying there and felt uneasy. She decided she needed to look into Scott more closely. Lauren led a briefing for her team. The post-mortem confirmed Jamie had died from a deliberate stab wound to the stomach. They discussed their suspects, including Adam Bennington and Scott Hadley. The team looked into the fake police uniforms. Bonas found out the body bag came from Fletcher & Sons. Whitty brought news from his source that a major, violent attack was planned for the coming days. The warning was clear: it would be a bloodbath. Lauren realized they were running out of time. Lauren and Bonas went to the funeral home. They spoke to Roger Fletcher about the body bags. Lauren showed him a photo of the black van from CCTV. He claimed the vehicle had been at the garage that day. Lauren asked to see his sons, Damien and Peter. Damien looked nervous and Peter tried to run, so Lauren arrested them both and seized the van. Later, Kenrick reported that someone had bought bleach, acid, and nails. Lauren realized these were ingredients for an explosive device. She immediately alerted the team that they were dealing with a potential bomb. Counterterrorism officers joined the investigation to identify possible targets before the planned attack. Lauren remembered Carrie's text praising Jamie for working late and decided to question her about what she meant and whether it related to New Dawn. She questioned Damien Fletcher, who gave a weak, prepared statement claiming he thought the body was from an accident. Lauren pushed him, accusing him of helping to hide a murder. Damien seemed genuinely confused when she mentioned New Dawn. While they were in custody, Kenrick made a shocking discovery. The badge on the fake officer's uniform was a special memorial patch issued only to their local police force. Lauren realized one of the fake officers had to be an active police officer. Lauren secretly checked the files of officers who served in 2019. Peter Fletcher started to cooperate, admitting they had buried Jamie's body after Alan falsely claimed Jamie had died in an accident. Peter named Alan Ellis as an ICT teacher. Fraser argued for surveillance, but Lauren wanted an immediate arrest to prevent the attack. They eventually agreed to 24 hours of surveillance. Lauren and Fraser talked about their wedding, but their minds were on the case. Fraser noticed that Matt Draper had never completed his vetting forms. Lauren did not want to believe it, but she felt concerned. Damien continued to give evidence, showing he had only played a minor role in New Dawn. Fraser interviewed Carrie, who admitted to messaging Jamie because she liked him. Forensics identified Chris Morley through DNA, but the evidence was compromised by a torn bag. Lauren sent her tired team home. She saw Matt sitting in his car and asked why his vetting records were missing. Matt realized she suspected he was involved and strongly denied it. After a tense exchange, he drove away, leaving Lauren increasingly uncertain about whether she could trust him. Lauren slept fitfully, checking her phone repeatedly for news on Alan Ellis. At 4:30, she found Fraser doing the same, and they decided to give up on sleep. By 7, Lauren was in the analyst's office, looking at a spreadsheet of phone numbers. The analyst identified a phone that appeared at every known New Dawn meeting. It was a contract phone registered to retired Detective Inspector Mike Bishop. Lauren realized Bishop was the man who had impersonated D.I. Burton to deceive Nadika. She immediately ordered 3 simultaneous arrest teams to target Bishop, Alan, and Chris. She felt a glimmer of hope until the updates started coming in. The teams smashed their way into the homes, but Bishop, Ellis, and Morley were all gone. Lauren realized with a sinking heart that someone had tipped them off before the police could act. Lauren sat in her office, retracing her steps. She drew a timeline of Jamie's involvement with New Dawn and tracked his supposed work drinks to the Two Princes pub. She visited the pub and watched CCTV footage from October 29th. She spotted Carrie Finder meeting Jamie, proving Carrie had lied to the police. Lauren found out Carrie drove a red Fiat 500, the same vehicle used by the woman who bought the burner phone. She realized Carrie was deeply involved. She also learned that surveillance officers had seen Scott Hadley meeting Alan Ellis, making Scott a renewed person of interest in the investigation. Fearing her own team might be compromised, Lauren shared these discoveries only with counterterrorism. Later, she went home and took a hot bath. While in the bathroom, she felt a vibration in the pipes and discovered a hidden burner phone beneath the bath panel. She saw a message from Mike Bishop asking if things were ready for Christmas. Her blood ran cold as she realized Fraser was one of New Dawn's leaders. Fraser had joined the army as a young man, but after returning to civilian life he felt increasingly isolated and bitter. Time spent in online communities of former soldiers helped draw him toward New Dawn. There, he found a new sense of purpose in its patriotic values. He established a local chapter of New Dawn with support from head office and worked to recruit new members. He remembered the pressure to expand quickly and how he had trusted Carrie's recommendation of Jamie Golding. Fraser recalled Jamie's reluctant initiation and how he had personally organized the cleanup operation to hide Jamie's murder. He had used his police knowledge to organize the cleanup, eliminating evidence and directing every stage of the cover-up. He remained fully committed to the group and believed their upcoming attack would finally make New Dawn a national name. The discovery left Lauren paralyzed with shock. She lay in the dark, listening to Fraser breathe beside her, struggling to understand how the man she loved could be a monster. She realized Fraser must be the one responsible for the leaks that sabotaged their investigation. Every instinct urged her to flee or call for help, but she knew that exposing him too soon would destroy their chance to stop the terrorist attack. She forced herself to lie still, thinking with a cold, analytical mind. She had to act as if everything was normal. She had to survive the night to protect the public from whatever New Dawn was planning for the weekend. Fraser noticed Lauren was quiet, but he was reassured when she went to bed early. He thought back to the night of Jamie's murder, remembering how he had managed the cleanup while Lauren worried about their wedding plans. He had struggled to dispose of the body when his original backups went to Tenerife, but he had relied on Alan and the Fletcher brothers to finish the job. He went to the bathroom to brush his teeth and quietly checked that his burner phone remained hidden beneath the bath. It was exactly where he had left it. He felt reassured because the phone appeared untouched. He considered his relationship with her, deciding that while she was a keeper, she would never understand New Dawn. If she ever found out the truth, he knew he would have to silence her. Lauren lay awake, watching Fraser sleep. The man she loved was now the target of the hunt. She recalled his earlier advice to place Alan under surveillance to find the other members of the group. She realized she now had to do the exact same thing to Fraser. She forced herself to remain calm, even as the weight of her betrayal crushed her. The hunter had become the hunted, and she had to survive until morning to set the trap. She focused on her breathing, resolving to hide her discovery at any cost. Nadika woke up consumed by grief, realizing that her anger had only been a mask for her pain. Maya came into the room and told her Scott was gone. Nadika checked the bag where he kept his bedding and saw it was untouched. She realized he had abandoned them without a second thought. A cold resolve settled over her. She decided she was done relying on anyone for protection. She looked back at everything the police had told her, realizing Lauren had completely misunderstood Jamie. If the police were wrong about him, she figured they were probably wrong about everything else, too. Lauren left the house before dawn. Fraser offered to drive her, but she made an excuse to leave alone, terrified he would see the truth in her eyes. She went straight to the chief constable to meet with counterterrorism officers. She revealed the hidden phone and the messages from Bishop. She explained that Fraser was the leader she had been hunting. The officers decided they could not arrest Fraser immediately, as it would tip off the rest of New Dawn. They needed him to lead them to the bomb. Lauren agreed to return to work and act normally. She told them she could not go home again, and the chief assured her Fraser would not be going home for a very long time. Fraser felt tense. 3 key team members, Mike, Alan, and Chris, were now in hiding, leaving him to carry out tomorrow's operation alone. Since the counterterrorism unit had taken over the murder investigation, he lost access to the case files. Before heading to work, he retrieved his burner phone from behind the bath panel. He sent a quick reply to Mike about Christmas, warning him and the others to avoid airports. He replaced the phone and prepared for the day. He had initially planned to use other officers as an alibi, but he realized he wanted to be at the scene himself. Being on site was a huge risk, but his desire for power grew every day. At the station, Craig Whitfield was in the yard. Fraser tried to keep the conversation casual, but he felt uneasy. He wondered if Whitfield suspected something. Worried that the police might be closing in and realizing too much could go wrong if he waited another day, he decided to move the attack forward to today. He believed striking first would leave the police with no time to stop him. Lauren sat in her office, watching the remote interview with Carrie. Carrie refused to answer any questions about the others. When D.I. Stratman asked about Fraser, Lauren felt sick. Fraser suddenly walked into her office with coffee. Lauren was terrified he would see the screen, so she quickly closed it. He acted strangely, mentioning a problem with the wedding venue as an excuse to leave. After he left, Nadika called to check on her family liaison officer. She mentioned she was busy with the recruitment fair at the Civic Center, where the children were rehearsing their nativity play. Lauren heard music in the background and suddenly realized the truth. She realized the nativity rehearsal had gathered hundreds of children in the very building Fraser had recently inspected. The Civic Center, not Echelon, was the real target. She tried to warn Nadika, but the call dropped. Lauren knew exactly where the attack was going to happen. Nadika and her colleagues spent the morning finishing the setup for the Echelon job fair. Elaine questioned the need for Christmas decorations, but Nadika explained they were just following orders. She checked the tables and recruitment sections one last time. She received a message from Scott about picking up the girls. She reminded him that he was responsible for getting them home after the rehearsal. Nadika felt a surge of pride as she surveyed the prepared hall. Everything was ready for the doors to open. She felt confident that the hard work of the last few weeks had finally paid off. Fraser arrived at the Civic Center, showing his police ID to bypass security. He ordered the cleaners out of the main hall. Once alone, he pulled the explosive devices from his bag. He carefully attached them to the underside of the audience chairs and beneath the stage carpet. There were around 20 explosive devices spread throughout the hall, designed to cause as many deaths as possible. He made sure each device would explode when someone sat on a chair or stepped onto the stage. He felt a sense of dark purpose, telling himself that the cost of innocent lives was necessary for his cause. As people started to arrive for the rehearsal, he slipped out of the hall. He passed teachers and excited children as he made his way to the exit. He felt no remorse, believing the school deserved the consequences for hosting a multicultural event. He stepped into the light, ready to watch the chaos unfold. He believed the attack would make New Dawn impossible to ignore and finally force the country to listen to its message. Lauren found Stratman and told him she had identified the real target. She explained how she connected Bishop's message with Fraser's strange behavior. She realized Fraser had invented the story about checking the Civic Center as a backup wedding venue so he could inspect the building before the attack. Counterterrorism accepted her theory immediately. Until then, they had focused their search on Echelon based on the earlier intelligence, then redirected officers to the Civic Center. Lauren felt a terrible realization wash over her. She feared the attack could begin at any moment and knew every second now mattered. She knew Fraser was likely already inside the building, waiting to trigger the bombs. Nadika stood in the cold outside Echelon, waiting for the building to be cleared. Police dogs had searched the area, but they found nothing. Her phone rang again. It was Scott, calling from the Civic Center. He told her the building was being searched by police dogs, and everyone was being evacuated. Nadika's heart dropped. She realized it was a bomb threat. She told Scott to keep the girls safe, and rushed to her car. Traffic was blocked, so she abandoned her vehicle and started running toward the center. She was terrified, imagining the worst as she pushed through the panicked crowds. Fraser realized he was trapped inside the Civic Center. He had seen a suspicious officer earlier and had to abandon his escape plan. He slipped into a cleaning cupboard to hide, determined not to be caught. He decided he would fight his way out if he had to. He eased the door open and listened. The building was crawling with police. He knew he needed a way out. He heard a young girl walking nearby. He realized he could use a child as a shield to get past the officers. He stepped out of the shadows, grabbed the girl, and pressed a hand over her mouth. He whispered a cold threat, forcing her to be silent as he dragged her into the dark. Lauren arrived at the evacuation zone, watching the children and teachers stream out of the building. She listened to the radio, searching for any sign of Fraser. She learned that around 20 IEDs had been found beneath audience chairs and under the stage, confirming his plan to kill the students. The discovery confirmed that Fraser had truly intended to murder hundreds of children. Nadika arrived, frantically searching for her daughters. Scott and Nish soon appeared, but Lauren noticed Maya was not with them. The teachers huddled together to count the children. Mrs. Fairfax looked up with a pale, trembling face. She told them that Maya was missing. Nadika stared at Mrs. Fairfax, the roaring in her ears drowning out everything else. Maya was gone. She dropped to her knees, gripping Nish by the shoulders, her voice cracking as she begged for her daughter. Scott turned on the teachers, demanding to know how they let this happen. He revealed he had been secretly investigating New Dawn to help Nadika, even leaking a story to the press. Lauren arrived and demanded to know who had given Scott his information, but he refused to name his source. Nish quietly explained that Maya had gone to the toilet just before they left and never came back. Nadika felt a wave of terror as she pictured Maya trapped inside a building rigged to explode. Mrs. Fairfax tried to call the other teacher, but Nadika could not wait. Scott lifted Nish onto his shoulders, and they started running back toward the Civic Center. Lauren did not use her radio, fearing her words would be overheard. She called control and learned Maya had never left the building. Cold dread gripped her. She reached the Civic Center and found Stratman talking to armed officers. She told him Maya was still inside. Stratman insisted the building had been cleared, but Lauren demanded he check again. Stratman then admitted that Fraser was on the roof, holding a hostage. Lauren felt as if the world were tilting. She knew how volatile Fraser was and could not let the snipers take the shot. She insisted on negotiating herself, arguing that she was the only one who could resolve the situation peacefully. Stratman reluctantly agreed to let her try. Nadika reached the police cordon and explained that her daughter was still inside. Banas, a detective Lauren worked with, escorted her toward the building, promising to help find Maya. Banas explained that the bombs had been neutralized, so the area was safe to enter. As they moved toward the back of the hall, Nadika remembered Maya's excitement about a secret hiding place behind the stage. She realized Maya was likely still hiding there, terrified. She told Banas she needed to be the one to call for her daughter. Banas agreed to let Nadika enter with her, and together they slipped inside the quiet, tense building to search for the missing girl. Lauren stepped onto the roof, the wind whipping her hair. Fraser stood on the parapet, clutching a terrified hostage. Lauren soon recognized her as Miss Key, the school librarian. Lauren moved slowly, trying to keep him calm while snipers watched from across the street. Fraser demanded a clear route out, ignoring Lauren's pleas. He pushed Miss Key to the edge, but Lauren stepped closer, talking about their life together. She appealed to the man she once loved, trying to break through his cold veneer. When Fraser briefly loosened his grip, Miss Key reached out. Fraser panicked, pulling her back, and they teetered on the edge. Lauren lunged, grabbing them both and pulling them to safety. Miss Key escaped. Lauren handcuffed Fraser as armed officers rushed onto the roof, telling him he would face justice in court rather than become a martyr for New Dawn. She left the roof without looking back. Nadika and Banas searched the vast, empty auditorium, finding only the red tags marking where the bombs had been. Nadika called for Maya, her voice echoing in the darkness. She searched behind the stage, but the hall remained silent. She remembered how Jamie used to play hide-and-seek with the girls and recalled the special phrase he used to end the game. She called out the phrase, and a hidden panel popped open. Maya finally emerged, safe but shaken, and ran into her mother's arms. 18 months later, Lauren sat in the courtroom to watch Fraser's sentencing. He looked like a stranger, his head shaved and his body bulky from prison exercise. The judge dismissed the defense's claims of trauma, highlighting Fraser's betrayal of his oath as a police officer. Fraser was sentenced to life with a minimum of 35 years. New Dawn had since been banned as a terrorist organization, and many of its members had also been convicted for their roles in the conspiracy. Jamie had risked his life gathering evidence that helped expose New Dawn. Investigations into remaining members and supporters were still ongoing. Lauren felt a profound sense of relief as the tension left her body. She had moved on, and while she still feared the man who had deceived her, she knew he was gone from her life forever. She watched as guards led him away, feeling the final weight of their shared past disappear. She also found herself looking toward a future with Jules Stratman. It was the sort of sunny day that made people smile at strangers, Nadika thought, as she sat on the hill with her daughters and Jamie's parents. She scattered the final portion of Jamie's ashes in the breeze, feeling a sense of peace she had not known for a long time. Life had grown around the grief, creating a new, supportive family for Maya and Nish. Scott was more involved than ever, and she had the help of her spare grandparents. Nadika felt truly hopeful, knowing that while the scars remained, they were finally ready to move forward into a brighter future. Fraser spent his days in prison following a brutal exercise routine. He had become physically stronger, thickening his frame and hardening his resolve. He spent his time reading about influence and persuasion, never once doubting his commitment to the cause. He believed the government had only strengthened New Dawn by trying to destroy it. He secretly recruited other inmates, spreading his ideology every chance he got. When one of his recruits was released, he ensured the boy had the right contacts to keep the movement alive. Fraser smiled, convinced that no prison could stop the sun from rising. He was certain that New Dawn would one day return to the light.